Welcome and good afternoon. I'm Amanda Kitt-Tollett. I am a Tarleton alum from 2008. I adjunct taught here, and now I am Chief of Staff to Dr. Hurley. We want to welcome you all today and thank you for attending this event. I would like to also welcome everyone joining us virtually and from our outreach campuses in Fort Worth, Midlothian, and Waco. For all those who are able, please stand for the national anthem and the posting of the colors by our Corps of Cadets.
Left, 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 right, left, 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 right, left, 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 right. Left turn, march, left, 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 right, color guard, hold, post, colors. Present. Arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, and the home of the
Arms. Mark time. March. Left turn. March. Mark. Mark.
Thank you to Drs. Westbrook and Robertson, the Sound and the Fury, and our chamber choir. I would also like to thank our local officials and Tarleton alumni in the audience today, and those viewing with us. And last but certainly not least, it is my pleasure to introduce the man that has spent countless hours leading us through these unprecedented times and has not only strengthened our university but grown our university. It is my honor to introduce Tarleton State University's 16th president, Dr. James Hurley.
I was worried. I thought Amanda forgot there for a second. I want to start. I know Colonel Welding, I saw him walk in, but could you stand on behalf of our cadets, Colonel, and allow us to say thank you for their service? And I'm going to ask Dr. Westbrook and Dr. Robertson to come back out. What an amazing performance. Think about how all of us, most of us, not all of us in this room, struggle just to perform a simple Zoom task. And he pulled off, wasn't that beautiful? That was amazing. Great job. It moved me, literally this morning, it moved me to tears watching those students and how it was just beautiful. It was well done. And Dr. Westbrook, as we all know, loves pep. He loves to, raise the roof, and he would have his drum line up here dancing and pounding and of the drum, and just so many fun things that unfortunately in this environment right now we chose not to do. But he put together this video, a collection of performances throughout the years, I should say, last year, prior to as well. And he just informed me this morning that we were going to have between 140 and 150 marching band members. And they were so excited about performing during our first Division I season, our inaugural football season at the Division I level, and volleyball and others. And so they can't do that right now. They are still practicing and preparing for what's going to be a very eventful spring for you and Lon Reisman and your teams. And I told Dr. Westbrook backstage, I said, listen, hibernate during the fall and be ready to go in the spring, because you are going to be so busy. Thank you both for your leadership. Thank you for all you do to encourage your students and to lead your students. We're thankful for both of you. Thanks. So thank you for attending. This must be the most popular section here, because this morning we knew that the evening session would be a little less attended. This morning we had a great turnout, and we wanted to do 2 sessions for those individuals that wanted to show up and still watch a presentation face-to-face, participate in a face-to-face. But we also had an incredible number of users online, and we know we have a lot of folks that aren't able to be here, and so that's why we're live streaming both sessions. We knew also this morning our faculty, it's a heavy faculty load, teaching load this morning, so lots of instruction taking place. This is our theme throughout the day. This is the General Assembly, obviously 2020. Our greatest adventure awaits. And I want to start with a lot of thank yous. I want to start with our Chancellor and our Board of Regents and Chancellor Sharp's leadership team. And all of you know we have had the most unprecedented leadership experience over the last 6 to 7 months. We, in the second week of March, we encountered something that we have never faced in the history of higher ed. I said that this morning, and I want to say it again. It's very important for you to remember that we will never in the history of education experience a first like we experienced this year. For a period of about 3 to 4 months, every institution of higher learning, and most all P12s as well, came to a complete standstill, where classrooms were shuttered, campuses were shuttered, and all face-to-face instruction across the world, not just in this country, but across the world, flipped to a virtual format. And all of you obviously understand that we were part of that. We were part of this abrupt change. And it was really difficult for a period of 2 to 4 weeks when we were trying to navigate how do we take an institution that is predominantly face-to-face, relationship-driven, personal interaction focused. How do we take that type of delivery model and curriculum and flip it to a virtual model? Some of you were well prepared because you had already been teaching online. Some of you had never taught a class online. And quite frankly, some of you, including your president, were novice technology users, computer users at best. But we had no choice. And more than ever, and we're really proud to be part of the A&M system, but I would say during that period, it was profoundly clear to me that we are super blessed to be part of the system because we had a plethora of resources that we were able to utilize. And then Chancellor quickly mobilized all of the presidents, and we became very, very close as a group of presidents, all 11 of us and the agency leaders, because we found ourselves in the same boat. And that boat had a lot of holes, and we were taking on a lot of water quickly. And truth be known, a lot of us were putting on a front to lead our institutions when we were really in the fetal position behind the curtain saying, what's next? How do we navigate this? Because no one had answers. Before Dr. Ottavio left the office, he and I spent, you've heard me say this, we've spent probably about a half a day in the office, and he left lots of manuals and different emergency protocol manual, emergency procedure manual, SAC CLC reaffirmation, all of those things he left in the bottom right-hand corner of the desk for me. And I called him about 4 weeks into this, and I said, Dr. D, I cannot find the COVID-19 manual. You must have taken it with you. Can you mail it to me? Right? And it was a joke because it didn't exist. And every president that I spoke to, we were all navigating these uncharted waters together. My executive cabinet and staff, it was incredible to watch our year and my executive team pull together and figure this out. And Dr. Karen Murray was even away from campus with a group of students on one of our study abroad trips, learning abroad trips. And she had very limited cell service. And so she and I were literally like late in the hours when they were coming off the Everglades. She was, I don't even know where she was at, communicating, and we were trying to navigate how do we pull this off. And Lori and Kelly and their entire team. We had so many students that needed to stay here when everyone else was going home because a lot of our students didn't have a home to go to. If they had a home to go home to, if they had a place to go home to, this environment was so much better than the environment they were going to go back to. We had literally a couple thousand students here for a majority of the spring semester when a lot of other folks were able to go to a different environment. Their best environment was here. And I'm thankful that we had leaders that saw through that, and we were able to navigate, and we were able to keep those students here in this environment. Our faculty, staff, and students, and I want to start with our faculty. And I was thinking about this presentation. If I had to choose one word, one verb, one adjective, whatever, if I had to pick something to identify each of these groups, I kind of came up with this, and this, you don't have to agree, and that's okay. I would attribute faculty with the word agility, because our faculty truly had to become more agile than they've ever had to become in their educational career. Think about some of our professors that literally, I mean, some of our classes are really tough to teach. I said this morning. You know, think about in the ag. How do you teach ranch management? How do you teach, you know, some of those farm ranch-based classes? Nursing. How do we teach a student how to, you know, effectively use his or her hands in a hospital setting, in an emergency setting when they're literally saving a life? It's very hard to teach virtually. And so our faculty did an incredible job of being agile. They adapted, they accepted, and they forged on. And so I'm thankful for our faculty. Faculty, you did an amazing job, and it showed. Staff, I use the word innovation because behind each faculty member, we had a lot of staff members that were quickly becoming innovative in ways to train faculty members that had never used Zoom, had never used an online virtual platform. We had to expand our technology. We had Lori and her team, Becky Gray, and they were out trying to create hotspots across campus because we knew we had students that would now be driving back to campus, sitting in their car for literally 4, 5, 6 hours a day learning, but we had to create those hot spots in various areas for students to have the mobility, right, to move around and find the technology, the bandwidth that they need to perform, to join you on a Zoom session. And we all know in Texas, we're a big state. We have a lot of acreage, and there are a lot of our students that did not have access to the high-speed internet that they needed. So our staff became incredibly innovative. You found ways to continue to engage students, and I'm thankful for that. So thank you, staff members. And I use the word trust with our students. We have so much to be thankful for. And you'll hear on September 30th when we give the State of the University address, we are celebrating a record enrollment. We have the largest freshman class in the history of this institution, the most diverse class in the institution, and the most academically prepared class in the history of this institution, in the midst of a global pandemic. And that's because we were able to forge on, and Dr. Garza and Dr. Styron, they worked really, really hard, and their teams worked extremely hard to produce mechanisms to display that to our parents and our students that we're going to do this as safely as possible. And we're going to place the health, safety, and well-being of your child to our parents and students to you as we possibly can. That's why we had face-to-face encounters this summer, right? We had those face-to-face encounters, and I know some of you, not many, but 2 or 3 of you were upset that we were having face-to-face intervention, and we were having those encounters this summer. Let me tell you why we needed to do that. There are a lot of first-generation students that attend this institution. In fact, it's half. Nearly half of this class. Historically, it's always been that. And it fluctuates, but it's always been right around 50% of our students are first-gen students. You also have to factor in anywhere on any given year, 35 to call it 40, 42% of our students on some years are Pell eligible. That means they're at the poverty rate. They don't have the resources to conduct online orientations. They don't have computers. They don't have broadband access. And so how can we expect our incoming students to conduct orientations when they don't have the resources? It's up to us to provide those opportunities for those students to come. And what we found, and Javier can back this up with statistical data, what we found is those students that came this summer are the students that needed it. They came because they had no other way of going through orientation and preparing themselves for this institution. So that's why we forged ahead and did what we did. That's why we do what we do here. And I also want to thank Dr. Garza because he instilled a sense of trust to incoming students. We're pretty confident, and Javier and Lori often get nervous when I start using numbers because it's Hurley math, and I round what's convenient for me. All right, so there's a disclaimer. And I've started adding ish. So we roughly have over 14,000 students, the largest freshman class. A lot of those students that chose to attend this institution helped create the largest percent, on a percent basis, we had the largest growth of any public institution in Texas. Now, our census data just ended on Friday, and so other institutions are starting to close out their, 10 or 12 day count this week, right? So we should know by Friday. But I'll let you guys in on a hint. If we've not already heard that they've got a record enrollment, guess what they don't have? A record enrollment. And so we're pretty confident we're going to have the largest percent. Think about that. When everyone else is at just hoping to be flat, or they've lost 2 to 4%, we're going to be north of 6%, a little over 6%. That's incredible. And that's because of the word trust. Parents and students trust that we're going to do what we say we're going to do. Our alumni and friends, the financial support through these tough times, they've been incredible. And I'm thankful for our CARES Act, because without that funding, I don't know that we would have had the record retention numbers that we're hoping to see. We're still at 70%. We didn't drop, we didn't gain, but we maintained that 70% threshold for first to second year persistence or retention rate. That's really important. That's really hard. A lot of institutions are down because kids are uncertain and they're taking some time off. And so again, it goes back to, I think people trust. Parents and students are trusting us. Lori and her team did a phenomenal job of getting the funds to the students. Some institutions have gotten themselves in trouble with the CARES Act already because they did not distribute the money accordingly. They distributed 30% instead of the 50% required, because 50% of our funds had to be direct to students. The other 50% could be used for institutional enhancement. And for us, it was a lifesaver, literally, because we were able to replenish our reserve fund, which we were already below the 3-month requirement. We were able to replenish that fund because we refunded students. We were the first institution last spring to issue the first check to students. We weren't the first to announce. Some institutions announced, we're going to refund all students that had to move out of the dorms, that had to close out their meal accounts. We were not first because we were very deliberate in what we did throughout this entire process. We didn't want to be first. First doesn't always win because a lot of institutions had to retract. We were methodical, and Lori's team was quick to react. Once we made our statement, we were the first institution. We had our ducks in a row. We made the statement. A few days later, they were issuing checks. And I want to thank her and her team for doing that because, again, it led back to trust. We told you we would do something. We did it. Our congressman, the first call I made was to Congressman Williams, and I said, we need help. We're getting ready tomorrow to announce that we're going virtual. And a lot of our students don't even own laptops because they're poor. They need help. We need help. And he went to work, and he was instrumental in increasing and helping form that back end, that other portion of the CARES Act funds for institutions like us that needed it. Our state senators, or reps, or mayor, or city and local officials, some of those individuals were here this morning. A lot of them will be here for the state of the university, so you'll hear me thank them again. We're appreciative of our SSE and Sodexo partners. Our SSE folks are on the front line early every morning, late every night, preparing, cleaning, ensuring that we have that safe, clean learning environment and living environment and dining environment that we need. Sodexo went above and beyond last spring to help bring food to those students because we were kind of on lockdown here. And it was really neat because Kendall and I, and this was before we were told that we need to wear masks, right? I mean, this was very early. This was March, early April, when we were all still trying to figure out, you know, how many more weeks will COVID-19 be around? I missed that one. I got that one wrong. I thought by the end of April, 1st of May, we would eradicate this flu-like virus. I think a lot of you in this room had the same assumption, and that we would move on, and then this would be kind of behind us. But that didn't happen. Campus Works, we're going to talk about in a moment. And everyone that worked so hard to make today possible. This is not today's not easy to pull off. You're going to hear Liz Murphy, the CEO of Campus Works. She's joining us from Florida. They have some travel restrictions. In case a lot of you don't know, we're not the most inviting state right now for people to travel to or from. If you come into this state or leave this state, you have to fill out forms and isolate and all those types of things. So we've got some things that we're working through. And she's going to join us, and along with Chrissy. And pulling this off has been amazing. So Amanda and Joey and everyone involved, thank you so much for your time. Let's introduce and welcome some new faces. These are new faculty members since fall. We have roughly 22 new faculty members. We're excited. Hopefully your name's on there. If not, you may want to contact HR. You might not get paid when we certainly want to get you paid. That's important. If your name has fallen through the cracks, we apologize and we'll get it corrected certainly before the end of for the state of the university. Also, new staff. We have roughly 25-ish new staff members, a lot of new faces and new places, and I hope that you have felt welcomed as part of our family. This is, to me, the most fun part. These are years of service to the institution. 25 years, Elizabeth Riggs, Deanna Powell. You see the 30-year list, Arthur Lowe and Mark Shipman and Donna Strohmeyer. I want to brag on Donna. I did this in the first session. Is Donna here? Donna, you're here. I thought you'd be over in Wisdom preparing for winter commencement. I'm disappointed that you're here, but I want to tell you, I bragged on you in the first session. What Donna was able to pull off in August to have face-to-face commencement for our commencements, because we have 5 ceremonies for our seniors, was nothing less than remarkable. And I know she had a lot of help, and she will be the first to tell you. And I remember the first time that I met Donna. It was I think it was around candle lighting, and I thought, man, she is really, really bossy. Like, she's borderline abrasive. And I thought, and then I said something to Kendall. I said, man, this lady, she's pretty tough. And she said, yeah, you need it. And she better be tough. I am so thankful that Donna puts the time and the effort and the energy into making that the most memorable experience for our future alumni, because it's important. Donna, thank you. The heat leading up to that August event, the week of, was excruciating. It was typical Texas fashion plus 10. I mean, and she was out there every single day with her team preparing. And I'm thankful for that. And I know her graduates. I have had so many thank yous, so many calls or tweets or DMs or whatever saying, thank you. You promised us you would have commencement, and you did. And it was because Donna was able to pull it off. 35 years. Randy Rozier. Or 40 years. This is Vicki McCamey. She wins our legacy and service. So this is on the staff side. Is Vicki here? Is Vicki in the audience? Vicki, stand up. I'm going to, yeah. So Vicki, I'm going to bring you something 40-year worthy. I wasn't sure, we were not sure who would be able to attend and not attend these events. So thank you for your service. 45 years, Bob Newby. Thank you, Bob, for your 45 years. And Dr. Jimmy McCoy, 50 years. I think Jimmy won this award last year. Is Jimmy here? He wasn't here this morning. I'll take Jimmy's award to him as well. He has, until he's not here, he's going to continue to win this award. And someone this morning said, well, why don't you give it to someone different? Then it wouldn't be a legacy award, right? It's the person that stayed with this family the longest. So Vicki, I'm sure a lot of people are rooting for you and Jimmy to retire, so their name, and it's all going to be selfish because they only want their name on there. All right, so keep doing great work for us. We're so appreciative. Let's give all these folks a big hand. The promotion and tenure. Now, this is a little bit combobulated. There's lots of terms we could use here. Some individuals throughout the next 2 or 3 slides have been promoted from assistant to associate. Some have been promoted from associate to full. Some are already at the full professor tenure rank, but they have been promoted into another role. So you see your names on there. I'm not going to read all these, but we have each of our colleges represented. And so I think most everyone on this list is assistant to associate, with the exception of a few. And then the same here. Promotion, again, some of these individuals have already had tenure status. They've simply been promoted into another position. So thank you. Each of the colleges are represented. We're thankful, we're appreciative, but more importantly, we're proud of your accomplishments, both in the classroom, in the fields of research, scholarly activity, and service to this institution. So thank you. We have some administrative changes. Obviously, you met Amanda Tollett this morning. She is our new Chief of Staff. She's also Vice President for University Relations. And Amanda's going to earn her keep here in the next few months. We start, I think, on January the 12th or the 7th, somewhere in that date, we start our legislative session. And we need a good session. Funding is going to be tough. Funding's going to be tough. We're most likely going to get hit with another reduction. We've already been hit for FY19. We had a clawback. We were 5%. We were reduced in this budget. Again, I want to commend Lori. When this hit us in March, we immediately, as a lot of you know, we went into a mode where we started shuttering some services and really started thinking about creating a savings pool. And I told Lori, I said, Lori, whatever we do, we've got to get our position fiscally healthy so we never have to go through what we had to go through this year. And we're going to talk about that at the State of the University. I don't want to take away from that. But it's important to know that for the last 5 years, this institution has ranked 11 out of 11 for institutional reserve funds. And it's not even been close. I think the average was of those 5 years has been like, I can't even remember, it was less than 2 on the average of the 5. We have to be at 3 before April, before SAC shows up. That's a lot, all right? The good news is we are there. Lori's got us there. And we're going to stay there because I don't ever want to go through what we went through this spring. It wasn't fun. Telling certain members of our family that they can't be members of our family anymore, it's not fun. Not fun. Dr. Michael Huggins, I know Dr. Huggins, is he here? He watched on Zoom this morning. I took a shot at Dr. Huggins because he's a fun guy. We're very thankful he's here. He is our newest dean, and I liked him so much that I took his admin assistant, and because we are losing Cheryl Smith. A lot of you know Cheryl. She is not able to be with us. She is at home watching. Cheryl is retiring. She made that very clear last year, and she stayed much longer than I deserved. But she gave me some additional time for the transition. Cheryl is a wonderful person. But we asked Lauren to come over, and she will be the new Cheryl. She's started that transition now. And so Dr. Huggins gets to pick his own admin assistant. And so he's not here today because he's probably interviewing to replace Lauren. And Lauren and Tana are here in the back. If you two ladies would stand up and let us see your smiles behind your mask. We're so thankful for you. Lauren, thank you for agreeing to come over. You're going to have so much fun in the president's office. And Tana is just a rock star for me. She keeps me on pace and on path each day. We have a new face in the audience today, Dr. Gabe Cagwin. He is our new Vice President for Institutional Advancement. Gabe, would you please stand and let us see you? We started off with, I think close to 100 names that Sid was vetting through. Then it got down to, the typical 70, 80, then 40, then 20, and then Miss Sabra served as our interim vice president during the process. And I asked her and Janice to lead the search process. They put together a wonderful committee. We had faculty, we had staff, very inclusive, and Gabe was unanimous in that selection. But I also want to thank Sabra for her leadership after Dr. McGregor went on to greener pastures. And we certainly appreciate Kyle's leadership here. Sabra, thank you. Thank you, Janice, also for your leadership. Gabe, you got big shoes to fill, but when you're unanimous with every single person on the committee, that $100 million campaign, you were so good, we said, we'll give this guy a month to raise it, and then we'll start the next campaign. Gabe comes to us from Arizona State University. He was Director of Development there. He's also served as Director of Development for the College of Business at Penn State. He's been at UCLA and the University of Buffalo, am I correct? And we're very fortunate. I talked to some of the leadership there at Arizona State. He's a star. He's a rising star. He's already there. He's going to really take us to another level with this comprehensive capital campaign. You'll hear more about it in September. Dr. Laura Sharp is our new Dean of the University College. We're going to talk about that reorganization in September. And Dr. Credence Baker, who you will hear from here in a few moments, she is our Dean of the College of Graduate Studies. And so let's get into just for a moment. Before I start, these slides were actually flipped and it's on me. 3 important dates that I want you to think about until September 30th. Please mark your calendars. September 30th will be the State of the University. I deliberately extracted the State of the University out of today so we would have time, to focus on our strategic plan, which is very, very important. But also, we have so many good things to report. We are blessed. And I know we're in the midst of having to wear face masks. We're all grumpy over it. We're tired. We're tired of not being able to hug. We're tired of not being able to fist bump. But we are going to get through this. This is going to be behind us sooner than later. And what we have to do now is we have to prepare to thrive, not survive. And that's what we've been doing. When everyone else shuttered, Dr. Garza and I were still going out to schools, the schools that would allow us to come and sit down, and the superintendents and principals. We continue to forge on. We signed 35 MOUs. You're going to see these numbers in September. 35 MOUs. We would have hit 50, and our goal was 25. We could have had 50, but we kind of stopped and said, all right, we got to think about this methodically. We're losing some of the traction that we need in terms of the MOU signings. Let's wait, get back at it in the fall and in the spring so we can capture more momentum and get that free earned media. The 12th is the start of the 87th regular session. I just want to be very transparent, clear. Amanda and I will be spending a lot of time in Austin because we've got to backfill some of these budget shortfalls. We've got to aggressively seek more state and federal contracts. We've got to raise more research money, and then Gabe and I have to be on the road raising more money. Because what I don't want is to put our CFO in a position where you have ideas and you have hopes and aspirations and dreams for your department, for your classroom, for your college, and I say, we've got cut. We've lost 5% or we've lost an additional 8%. We just can't do that. That's unacceptable. We have to find ways to raise the funds. That's my job. Right? That's my job as president. It's to not say no, but to create pathways of yes, or at least maybe let's figure out a way. That's Gabe's job. That's Lori's job. That's why we hired Amanda. She is a star in Austin. She loves this institution. She's an alum of this institution. She knows the hallways there. She's going to help us navigate those halls. She's going to work closely with Jenny Jones and her system, and we're going to work really hard, really, really hard as a system and as a university to find those resources for you. That's important. We're going to talk about the surplus and things that we've been able to build through our enhanced enrollment, et cetera. And then the 12th through the 16th is really important. That is our 10-year reaffirmation SAC CLC visit, and they are coming. Let's not pretend that they're not. And so it's really important that we talk about this process, because this process aligns with what we look like in the next 10 years. Because SAC CLC is a 10-year process. Year 4 to 5, we have our mid-year report, or fifth-year report is what it's defined as. And that's going to be here tomorrow. I mean, literally, when we blink, we're going to look up 4 or 5 years from now, and SACS is back, and they're going to want to know, what's your plan? What's your pathway? Let's see how you're adhering to the QEP, et cetera. We have a wonderful VP, Dr. Sheely. He is one of the very best I've ever worked with at SACS. He's our liaison. He's wonderful to work with. But he will want to see, what is your pathway forward? We can't have this on a napkin and say, these are some ideas. That's not going to fly. We have to be strategic, methodical, and we have to be in our next plan. I am so excited about Campus Works. We interviewed a lot of firms, and it goes back to, we had representation from faculty, We had the faculty chair, we had the Senate chair, staff chair. We had other institutional stakeholders on this committee. They were unanimous. In fact, they were so unanimous on round one, we started trying to identify reasons why not to hire them. As you do when you start splitting hairs when you have good people, right? And we couldn't. They're phenomenal. They're led by Liz Murphy, the CEO. You're going to hear from Liz in just a few moments. Some of the questions, you're going to hear from Dr. David. I took him to dinner last night. He ate at the Purple Goat. I've never seen a guy eat a barbecue brisket sandwich so quickly. They must have terrible brisket in Tulsa, because he literally, like in 5 seconds, the sandwich was gone. And we're taking him to Heart 8 tonight. But the reason I share that I took him to dinner, we had a wonderful 1 hour and 15-minute conversation. And I'm excited. He had me excited about the work that's going on here. They know more about us than probably most of us in this room, because they've done their homework. And you're going to love his energy and passion. So why is this process important? I've just explained. We've got to chart our own course. Why 10 years? Well, why just 1 year? Right? We're not going to let others define where we want to be, right? We want to define that. What do we want to look like 10 years from now? It has to be aspirational. We have to be ready to pivot and shift, but we have to have a plan. What's the first step? Today's the first step, this launch. This is the first step, and he's going to talk about the next steps. Who will be involved in the process? All of you. It was very clear that this was the most inclusive firm. They believe in a ground-up process, and I want this to be organic. I don't want this just to be my vision or my mission. I cast the vision. You hire a president to cast vision. I've cast the vision. The vision is, in 10 years, we're going to be the premier comprehensive regional university in the country. Not in Texas, not in the South, not in the Midwest, not in the WAC, but in the country. And we can do that. We can do that. We have so much to be thankful for. We have so much to work toward, but more importantly, we have so many great resources here to do that. And then do we have a strategic plan committee chair? I'm glad you asked, because we do. And I am so thankful that this leader has decided to step up. I'd like Dr. Credence Baker to come out. Dr. Baker, let's give her a big hand. So Dr. Baker was one of many names that was submitted to me. She, and I started vetting each of those individuals. And I wanted to find someone, it was important to find someone that wasn't directly tied to one college, even though she's now dean of the graduate college, in terms of being able to work with all faculty. I wanted someone that would not give one particular college an advantage or a disadvantage. I wanted someone that would carry the voice of faculty, staff, and more importantly, our students. Kevin told me last night this is one of the first universities that he's worked with that actually has a student. And I was very passionate about ensuring that one of our co-chairs is a student. There's a novel idea. Let's build a plan around students. That's our customers. And so she's going to talk about each of those leaders. But Credence she's organized. She loves this institution. She's smart. She's transparent. But more importantly, she's fair. And she's going to be fair to each of you. She's going to be fair to the process and fair to this university. She's already worked really, really hard. Since March, she has done so much work that you can't even imagine behind the scenes. Let's give another hand and welcome our committee chair, Dr. Credence Baker.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Hurley. We actually had a bet backstage as to whether or not Dr. Hurley could finish his remarks, on time, because he had a little overage in the morning session, and I won the bet, and I basically bet that you were going to go over. So we went over just a little bit. I'm going to speed things up for you guys so we can get out of here on time. It's so great to be here. I don't know about you guys, but this pre-COVID, I I was not good at waving to people pre-COVID. So I would wave and see someone that I thought I knew, like, I think that might be Elsa there. It is Elsa. Hi, Elsa. Or I think that might be Amy. Well, with your mask on, you really can't tell. So then it's super awkward. You're waving, and then the person's like, I don't know who you are, or do you know? So anyways, it is a strange time, but it's the perfect time for us to launch the strategic plan. I'm just really excited about how much each of you want to be involved in this. We have a really great planning lead team that I want to introduce you to. They've been doing a lot of work since this summer to make sure that we have a productive and representative year, starting with this very general assembly. So our strategic planning lead team consists of our faculty vice chair, Dr. Bryant White, our staff vice chair, Mr. Daryl Brown, our cabinet vice chair, Miss Amanda Tollett, our student vice chair, Miss Brooke Rogers, and our logistics lead, Miss Sarah Hansen. Will you please join me in thanking this team for their efforts thus far? Next, I have the pleasure of introducing you to our Campus Works partners, Liz, Chrissy, and Kevin. I've been meeting with these folks since March via Zoom, and they're a lot of fun to work with. But most importantly, they ask the right questions at the right time. And so I'm pleased to introduce to you Kevin David. He is our facilitator here on site, and he's going to introduce you to his partners on Zoom. So would you welcome Dr. David to the stage, please?
Thank you, Dr. Baker, and good afternoon to everybody. It's great to be here. Thrilled that you all can make it. And to everybody watching on YouTube, I have an 11-year-old daughter who's going to be very pleased when I tell her I'm now a YouTube star. So very excited about that. So my name is Kevin David. I am a portfolio director at Campus Works. More importantly, I am the team lead for Campus Works, the team working with Tarleton on developing the next strategic plan. And I couldn't be more excited about that. This is my first time on campus, and I've just been amazed by and blown away by everybody and just the students that are on campus and just how everybody's staying so upbeat in this challenging time, and I love that. And that's what's going to be so exciting about this process is we are going to work towards a bright future. And it may be some dark times, but there is a bright future for Tarleton, and we're really thrilled and honored to be part of that journey with you. I've been at Campus Works for a little over 2 years now, and I come from a long academic background. So I was a tenured faculty at a regional comprehensive university in Oklahoma, Northeastern State University in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. So I was there as a psychology professor. My PhD's in developmental psychology, so I used to study children, child and adolescent development, and it comes quite in handy in working as an administrator. It came in handy as well, and it does in consulting, just not the children part, but just the psychology part. And and then I went on and I became an administrator at a community college, the largest two-year college in Oklahoma, Tulsa Community College, where I was an associate vice president for institutional effectiveness, and then became provost. So, but I've joined Campus Works because I really believe in the mission of this company and the work that we do to serve higher ed, and most importantly, to serve the students, even if it's indirectly through you all, the universities that we work with. It gives me so much personal and professional joy to work with you all to see how you can organize and plan and execute to best serve your students and communities. So thrilled to be here, and thanks for having us. I have two of my colleagues, as Dr. Baker mentioned, joining us via Zoom. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Coley to introduce herself.
Kevin, thank you so very much. And good afternoon, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be with you all today, even if it's virtually. As Kevin mentioned, my name is Chrissy Coley, and I'm Portfolio Executive Leader with Campus Works. I've been in higher ed a little over 25 years and have served in a variety of student affairs, academic affairs, and enrollment management roles, such as serving as Assistant Vice Provost for Student Success Initiatives at the University of South Carolina, and also Vice President for Student Engagement and Success at Barton College in North Carolina. I'm incredibly excited to be a part of the Campus Works team that is providing support to Tarleton's strategic planning initiatives. And it's very evident to me that you all are a very student-centric institution, and I very much look forward to working with you all as a part of this process. At this time, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to Liz Murphy, who is our Campus Works CEO and the chairman of our board. Liz.
Thank you, Chrissy. Good afternoon, everyone. The atmosphere feels electric. I have to say, all day we've been meeting with folks on the university's campus and through Zoom, and the energy is just palpable. And I think it's because you are a community that is optimistic, and you can see the potential in your future. Kevin mentioned dark times. I'm going to suggest that we color these times brightly, not darkly, because, you know, as much as the coronavirus has created challenges for us, it's also created very new opportunities for us as individuals, but as institutions. And while Tarleton State was on the precipice of making some really cool changes with your new leadership, you now have sort of this added incentive to really amp up your innovation. And we're really hoping that this process is going to really ignite your ability to imagine the future. A 10-year, longer future, but recreate a future that's responsive to the needs of the students that you have coming here. They have new expectations too, coming out of this coronavirus environment. They want to be on campus, but they also want new and different options. They want to experience learning in a different way. And given the funding challenges all of higher education is experiencing, we're going to need to be more creative about how we create the frameworks and the infrastructure to be able to make that happen. And that's what our methodology is really all about. What's most important as we move forward is to ensure that we remain relevant, because we can't survive, let alone thrive, if what we're offering is not what students are looking for, right? It's not what your community and their service area is really driving toward, if it's not what donors are looking to invest in. So relevance becomes really important. Sometimes opportunities like this virus give us a chance to really reframe how we think about things. Did you ever imagine what looked like this now looks like this? Who could have imagined that the power of our phone would produce photography that rivaled any Canon Sure Shot we ever carried? And who would have imagined, as we buzzed around New York City or any major metropolis, that we'd go from these yellow iconic cars to these apps? I remember when Uber was first initiated, how there was so much pushback about not just safety, but how would that be handled? And what about the licensing of all the cabs? And there couldn't possibly coexist. And look at the world we live in today. The paradigm's been completely changed because someone was very creative and thought more about breaking the rules than living within the rules. And then this last example is probably all too familiar to you right now. We've gone from this to a regular dose of this. And while we all want to come back to the classroom, I do think we're being challenged coming out of this unusual time with the opportunity to really think very creatively. You did things in the last several months that you probably didn't think were possible. You responded in a time frame that was much faster than you probably ever thought your institution could move. You came up with creative solutions for learning and communication and service that you hadn't dreamed of before. So we want to harness that power, that creativity, and drive it into your new strategic plan. What we're focusing on is helping you to prepare students for jobs that don't exist yet in an environment that we probably can't really even articulate with any certainty right now. And with the added challenge that we have to do it all with less resources than we had before. The secret to really good strategic planning is not about loss. It's about choice, and it's about choosing to go in a direction that's going to support the institution. And the way you begin that is by envisioning where it is you want to be. So I'm going to turn it over to Kevin right now, who's going to take you through an exercise about the power of visualization.
Great. Thank you so much, Liz. I appreciate that. And so, as Liz mentioned, so much of being able to create a dynamic and positive future for Tarleton and your students is really being able to envision what that looks like. And so we're going to be doing many things throughout our time together where we're going to be envisioning what the future looks like. And I want to give you a sense of kind of what we're talking about here today. So I'm going to ask you all to join me, and not just everybody here in person today, but everybody who is joining us via YouTube. If you could join us and play along, I'd appreciate it. I'm going to ask if everybody could briefly stand up. Great. Thank you. And I'm going to ask you, we're going to do something that's kinesthetic. We're going to get our bodies moving a little bit here, okay? So it's, we're getting to that, what I call the 3 or 3:30 crash. Where you start to need some caffeine or something. Well, we're going to do a little bit of body movement here. Nothing too crazy, don't worry. But what I'm going to do, let me demonstrate what I'm going to ask you to do. You don't have to do it yet, but what I'm going to have you all do when it's time, I'm going to ask you to, when it's time, to raise your right arm and your index finger, okay? Then I'm going to ask you to swing your arm around as far back as you can go and point to the spot on the wall or wherever you're looking. Visually mark and put that in your head. Remember where you stopped, and then bring your arm back and put it down. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Arm up, finger out, turn it around clockwise as far as you can go. Mark the spot. Keep it in your mind, and then swing your arm back and drop your arm. Thank you. Now I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Okay? And now, in your mind's eye only, I don't want you to move your arms. In your mind's eye, I want you to imagine that you're lifting up your arm in the same way, with your index finger pointed out, your right arm. And again, in your mind's eye, imagine that you are rotating, swinging your arm again clockwise, and you go around and you hit the mark where you were, where you stopped last time. But in your mind's eye, you don't stop there. You go 1 foot farther. Okay? So now you're a foot past where you stopped the first time you did it. In your mind's eye, you bring back your arm and you lower your arm again. Keep your eyes closed. Because now I'm going to ask you again, in your mind's eye only, to imagine that you are lifting your right arm again in the same fashion with your index finger pointed out. And in your mind's eye, you're swinging around clockwise. And you hit that first spot where you marked the first time you did this on the wall. But you don't stop there. You keep going to the 1 foot past that, right, that you were at. But this time, you actually go 2 feet beyond that point. Okay? So your finger is now pointing 3 feet past the original spot that you marked when you did this exercise. And so in your mind's eye, you swing your arm back to the front and you lower your arm. Now you may open your eyes, and let's try that exercise again. Arm up, with your finger out, and swing around. Go as far as you can. All right, you can come on back and put your arm down. What happened? Went farther? How many went farther? Raise your hand if you went a little bit farther. Oh, wow, that's almost everybody. Okay, great. Well, thank you. You can sit down. But the point of that was we just wanted to demonstrate in a very real and concrete, tangible way that if you can imagine something happening, you can do it. That's not some kind of trick, right? I told you the first time to go as far as you could. I said those exact words. And so you did, but then you thought about it and you actually envisioned it happening. So something clicked in your mind that allowed you to go beyond where you ever expected. And that is a metaphor for what we're going to be doing during this strategic planning process. We are going to challenge you to think boldly and very bigly, okay, if you will. We want you to think, excuse me, my clicker, make sure it's, apologize folks. I want to just click to the next one. Thank you. So don't let the ability to think about how or any limitations about how we're going to do these things inhibit your big ideas. That's what we're going to be focusing on. And so that's going to be a theme in what we're talking about. And so I don't have to tell you that, especially right now with what's happening with COVID and everything in higher ed, it's a difficult place to work and operate, right? But it has the potential to change our whole world, and I mean that and believe that with my whole heart. But it can feel like a labyrinth with all the challenges we face. But the strategic plan, one of the purposes of having a really well thought out and inclusive strategic plan is that it's going to help you clear that path so that you can get to the most important work that Tarleton has to do to make this university the premier comprehensive regional university in the nation. Okay? And just real briefly, some points about our approach as Campus Works. You will see, as you interact with us more over the next 7 months or so, that we are prioritized first and foremost broad inclusion and engagement and transparency of this process. We want to hear from everyone. And I don't just mean everyone in the room or everybody on Zoom, I almost said Zoom, but YouTube. We were talking the other day, side note, about how Zoom is becoming like Google, like a verb, right? Like something you just do, like, oh, I'll Zoom you. You know, it doesn't sound good, but it's just the nature of where we live today, right? But it doesn't matter. We want to hear from everyone, and whether you're an employee, a student, or community members, alumni, we want to hear from everyone as part of this process, and we want everyone to understand what we're doing, the progress we're making, and how we're using the information that we're gathering throughout the process. You also see here open minds. So one of the things we do is we'll have a lot of events and activities where we're trying to have people learn new things and be exposed to different ideas. And this will start really tomorrow. We have a Trends in Higher Education workshop that we'll be doing right here at 10:30. If you can make it, please do. And I think there's an RSVP, so Credence, I know, has that information, and Sarah has helped with that. But we want people to understand that what the different types of solutions that are being, implemented around the world, around the nation, and some of the challenges facing us, so we're all kind of on the same page. You'll also see equity-mindedness is a big guiding principle for us. We want to make sure every voice is represented in this process. All voices, underrepresented voices that maybe don't always have a voice in how decisions are made, things like that. We want to make sure those are included in this process. We also will be collecting a lot of data to inform the strategic plan development, and it's not just going to be what we gather from our workshops, but I'm meeting tomorrow with Morgan Carter to go through some of the institutional data that you already have. And we're going to actually, they're going to give a presentation to our Strategic Planning Council in 2 weeks on some of key institutional data. And last but not least, we want to push the institution for innovation and excellence. And I don't mean just have an innovative and excellent strategic plan, but as cultural values that are embedded in what the institution does and how you work together. That is going to be critical to keeping that momentum of constantly improving to serve your students. So real quickly, I just want to share the framework. Can you click this couple of animations? Thank you. So we're going to identify an ideal student experience. That's going to be one of the vision kind of exercise we do in 2 weeks. We're going to work with faculty, staff, and students on that. And we're also going to be looking at the institution's mission throughout this process. And those are two foundational pieces for the work we're going to do. and which includes identifying over 10 years. We're going to have 10-year goals and then 2 5-year measurable and actionable strategic plans that are going to help you get there as an institution. So there's going to be, each 5 years, 3 to 5 strategic directions or strategies that are going to be the big rocks that you're going to work on to help you achieve both your 10-year goals and ultimately the vision for the institution, which we'll also be reviewing. And on the side of this graph, you'll see values serving as a scaffolding for this work, because we believe at Campus Works that the values are really defining components of your culture, but we view them as aspirational as well. So it's not just what have we always valued in the past, and we want to honor the past, but we want to think about what do we need to value and how do we need to think and act to move forward from here on out to achieve our goals and our vision. And then let's bring the employees together to have a conversation about that. Let's talk about it together. It's one of my favorite workshops to do, because you see employees really typically get very into this. And sometimes it's, oh, I wish we don't do this right. We really need to focus and value this. Or it's, what I really think is going to take us to the next level is if we focus on this. This is something we all need to embrace as a cultural value here at Tarleton. So I'm really excited and looking forward to that, and I hope you all will participate. And this, real quickly, won't spend a lot of time on this just for the sake of time today, but we do have kind of starting the process now in September. As Dr. Bacon mentioned, we've been talking with her, with Dr. Hurley and the executive cabinet since March, but we're really starting to launch things now with the campus. And so we have some of these workshops happening. We're going to be going through till the end of March, when we are going to have the strategic plan completed, and that'll be in time for your April site visit from SAC-COC. One thing I do want to point out while we're on this slide is the second, I think it's hexagon. The second one there is the SWOT survey. That's going out tomorrow to all employees. We're asking you, it'll be open for a week. We're asking you to, and I will tell you, it takes about 15 to 20 minutes if you're going to take some time to really put in it, because it's like 8 open-ended questions. But you could click on the link and then come back to it later. I don't think you can save it, so don't put in answers for some and then come back. But you can look at the questions and then come back to complete it. But we want to hear from you all about what do you think the institution's strengths and weaknesses are, and what are some opportunities and threats in the external environment that you all need to be aware of and capitalize on in terms of opportunities. And then in terms of roles, what you'll see is that the steering committee, we have a strategic planning steering committee made up of the executive cabinet and the chair of the strategic planning council, Dr. Baker. And they are going to begin the process of reviewing the mission and vision, which is going to also include a discussion of the 10-year goals. But let me be clear that is not where the process ends. Actually, it circles back to them, but there is going to be a lot of input from the Strategic Planning Council. There's going to be a survey where it goes to all employees, where you get to have input if there's any changes to the mission and vision, and we'll be looking for themes from that, and then we will synthesize that and then provide recommended changes, if any. The students, staff, and faculty are going to be working on the student experience statement, which is a vision for the student experience at Tarleton moving forward. And as I mentioned, we're going to have that workshop in just 2 weeks when I'll be back here on campus. The council and the university leaders are going to be working on the high-level strategies, the 3 to 5 areas that we're going to focus on in the next 5 years. Each one of those will have like 3 to 6 measurable objectives underneath those, and each of those are going to have detailed action plans, which will be updated annually. And last but not least are the core values of the institution, where I've already talked about that. We're going to have that values workshop that we're going to start with the values survey that will be, and then we're going to code some of the data from that survey and present it at the workshop to say, hey, here's what folks said, here are some of the themes. Now let's dive into it with some small group discussions and some reporting out. And I do want to reiterate this, that your voice is critical in this process. So appreciative of President Hurley and his commitment to really, having a bottom-up strategic planning process. And it really is a match made in heaven as far as we're concerned. We think that this was really the perfect, I know and I appreciate President Hurley's comments about saying that we really were the right fit for you all. Well, we feel like y'all are the right fit for us. This is the type of institution that we really thrive in working with and that we really relish. So thank you all. And I want to just share, what I'll close with are some opportunities for you all to, there it is. Thank you, John. So some of the key opportunities for you to participate in this process are, and I don't have it up there, but the SWOT survey, it's coming out tomorrow, the student experience workshop, and then there'll be follow-up surveys for that. One for the workshop participants, and then one for all employees to weigh in on that. Talked about the values, and then last there will be another, not last, but another survey on mission, vision, values, and strategies when we have drafts of all of those. But keep an eye out for your email, and you may be hearing other announcements about other activities happening on campus via Zoom, who knows, maybe YouTube again. And with that, I will turn it back over to Amanda, and thank you all very much. I'm looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, we're just about wrapped up here. We wanted to thank you all for your attendance again today, and reminder that on September 30th, we'll have the State of the University, so please join us again for that. And on your way out, there's snacks and a photo booth and all kinds of fun stuff. But before that, we're going to close with the Tarleton Color Song, presented by Miss Bradley Clem, a junior music education major.
Oh, our hearts with joy are thrilling when the Tarleton colors wave, and our spirits rise with rapture when the Tarleton sons are brave. Fight for victory, fight for honor, and success will crown the fight. All hail the proud defenders of the purple and the white.
Before we leave, John, would you step out here, you and Joey? Come on, real quick. Come on, these people are ready to go. Let's give her to, these two guys have worked a lot of hours back here to pull this together. Thank you both for all that you've done. Kevin, thank you. Liz, Chrissy, thank you for joining virtually. We look forward to working with you. I want everyone to do this. Take a big deep breath. Exhale. We're going to be okay, right? This is going to be fun. We're going to thrive when others are merely trying to survive. We're going to thrive out of this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for bleeding purple. Thank you for loving this institution. I want you to be engaged in this process. Please do that. At the end of this process, don't come to me and say, I was voiceless. Shame on you, because that's going to be on you. You've got an opportunity to be part of this. So thank you for that. Thanks for being here. Grab some popcorn, take a picture, post that picture on your way out. Roll Texans.